Dear friends, good day. We have a special guest in our studio, the Executive Director of Frontier Resources, Zaza Mamulaishvili. Welcome to our studio, welcome to Moldova.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here.
I will go straight to the subject.
Sure.
I must say the contract you have signed with the Moldovan government made some noise in the Moldovan society. Why do you think that happened?
Well, I think the reason really is that probably the people, and not only people, many different stratas of society are not properly informed what this business is about, and that always gives the people to speculate, the chance to speculate more than enough. So that's why we, as our corporate culture, we like to come, tell our story, explain everyone what we are thinking to do, what we are seeing as a perspective here. And I think this will serve to help everybody educate themselves and take the correct story at the first place.
Maybe in the future you should be more attentive when announcing the contract. January 2nd, it's probably not the best date to announce such an important contract.
Oh, I completely agree with you. And actually, I was the one who was really disappointed with January 2nd. Was not the one, because many others of my colleagues felt the same way. If I can tell that according to procedure, the way it works is that after we won this tender, which was international public tender, the government needed 60 days to conclude an agreement, and the 60-day ended on January 2nd. So we could sign it in November, in early December, but unfortunately it happened such that it ended on January 2nd, and that's why we haven't been able to come and attend signing ceremony.
Tell us more about the content of the concession contract. The period is very long, like 50 years. Do you have such contracts signed with other governments?
Yes, normally the oil and gas, this type of contracts are very capital intensive and time consuming. And you really need the pretty substantial span of time in order to explore, prospect, explore, find, develop, and produce. And this is not unusual that you see 25, 30, 40, 50 years contract. Some contracts last forever.
I understand. The information you have published about this contract, I must say, it doesn't have much essence. So you said that you would invest like a couple of millions of dollars in the next years, and you would employ a couple of hundreds of people. Can you tell us more about what the contract mentions? How much time do you have for exploitation? How much time do you have for exploration? How much money will you invest in the first stage of documenting, making the geological, seismical studies?
Normally this is how it works, and what we are planning to do is following. We're going to have another 5 or 10 years for exploration work, and we start investments immediately to start exploration. And what I mean is that we're going to do data gathering, geological, geophysical, engineering data, processing and reprocessing existing seismic lines, analyzing reservoir engineering data. And once we complete the exploration phase, then we start exploration drilling. And if exploration drilling confirms that there is crude oil or natural gas deposit, then we start development. And once we start field development, this is when we employ 200, 300, 400 people. And the hundreds of millions of dollars will be investing in field development. Now, regarding timing, sooner we find something, the sooner we start development. The longer it takes to identify and discover, longer it takes to develop.
You mentioned the figure of $6 million investment. When will you make this investment?
We think that geologically our focus will be in the south part of the country, And this year we will be working with State Archive and with Ministry of Natural Resources, with other oil and gas experts and geologists and geoscientists in the country to further understand the geology of Moldova and further learn about seismic well logs, reprocess, digitize those material and data, reprocess it, and take a fresh look to see and to identify new potential.
Okay, and I asked you about when do you think you will start investing the money in this process? You mentioned the figure of 6 million in the press conference you held today. I want to know more about this.
Well, actually, this year we already started. Right now, we are in process of digitizing certain data we have. Next thing, probably next month, we will have another group of our geoscientists coming in. Actually, next month will be coming the environmental group. Then that will be followed by geological group. So we already started investments in this area, actually a few years ago, but after signing this contract, right now, this is what we do.
I must admit the figures you provided are very questionable, because drilling one well costs about $9 million, just one well. You must have like more financial potential for starting such a project, because the Chevron company, which started this type of business in Romania, it cancelled it after time, but they paid, or they invested like $9 million in just one well drilling. So this are very high costs that you risk with your own. You say that you plan investing 6 million. 6 million is very few for this type of business, isn't it true?
Yes, I think we are talking about two different things. $6 million is what we start our exploration work with. And this money will go for the people to come working on data, existing data, working with state archives, doing geological research, etc., etc. So once we have some success in exploration phase, then we start exploratory drilling. And it is difficult today to tell you, will it cost 9 million, 19, or 4.9, because right now we don't know what depth we will be drilling with. So once we identify the depth, then I can tell you with more accuracy how much will be the cost. But average cost of the well will be probably something between $5 to $10 million. You're right. Speaking of Chevron, they had their own vision and understanding where they should have been looking for oil and gas deposits, and they had, that was kind of more unconventional approach what they had. Normally unconventional wells are more expensive than conventional, and we think we have pretty good chance to find conventional oil and gas fields here in Moldova.
Let's admit you find shale gas. What would be the profit for the Moldovan government, for the state?
Well, we are not working on shale gas, so this is not in our interests, and I really can't tell you, because if we don't find conventional the structure and resources, we are not interested to develop shale gas. No.
Okay, you're interested in natural gas?
Yes, in conventional natural gas and crude oil.
Let's admit the fact that you find this conventional gas. Yes. What terms do you have certified in the contract, in the concession contract with the Moldovan government? What's the Moldovan part share from this business?
Yeah, well, the Moldovan government, if you generalize, if you take taxes, royalties, employment services, local services provided, so general term will be that Moldovan government will be receiving more than half of whatever will be produced. So
more than half of the gas which will be produced?
Anything. Whatever we produce, generally speaking, to make economics simple, through taxes and the services provided and a lot of other components of the industry, general rule of thumb is that Moldovan government will be receiving more than 50% of what we will be producing.
From your experience, what would be the price for natural gas if you find it, and the Moldovan government wants to buy it and distribute it in its network? For instance, now Moldova imports most of the gas from Russian Federation. It pays between $160, $200 per 1,000 cubic meters. What would be the price in case you find such gas in Moldova?
In case we find the natural gas in Moldova, that will be definitely very, very competitive to any price in the world you can find.
Definitely, that means twice cheaper?
Well, it's really hard to say. First of all, I really don't know what's going to be when we will be producing this natural gas. What will be the price of services, drilling, employment? What will be the market price for natural gas?
But you conducted the research when you started the business, because it's very serious business. So you must have a research before signing the contract.
Yes.
So you must have the figures.
Yes. Well, I can tell you the figures. What we are shooting for is the size of natural gas field, which is 100 billion cubic meters.
Million.
Billion. Okay. This is the size of the field we are targeting to find.
But have you conducted a study? Is there sufficient reasons to believe we have such deposits underground?
That's why we are commencing exploration phase now, to answer your question probably in 3, 4, 5 years from now.
If you said that the state would benefit like more than 50% from the everything what's found. How does your business work? So, as I understood from the press conference, you don't produce the gas. You just look for it, and then if you find something, then you look for an external source, for a third party who is extracting and refining what you find there.
No, we do produce. We are exploring. Then, if we find the deposit, we drill, and then we produce. And once we produce, we either sell it domestically.
So you are the distributor, the final, like the distributor, and you sell the.
Well, we may not be distributors, because we will be producers, and we will be selling to distributors. That's kind of a little bit different area of expertise. So we will be exploring, drilling, producing, and then we will be selling to distributors.
In the process of documenting, I have found that there are some risks connected to the environment. What can you say about this?
We've been in a number of countries. We've been running these operations, and we've been getting the highest possible grade, running in environmentally responsible way. And now that we have signed the contract, in next month, end of next month, probably we will have our Vice President of Environment, HSE, coming to Moldova and discussing it in details with NGOs, public, and media.
Yes, but the environment would suffer quite important losses, if I can say so, because when you have this drilling process, you have like the water pollution, you have the chemical substances that are drilled and then they get out in the air. You could probably have rock cracks. How do we protect from this?
Well,
we wouldn't want such a situation have very bad consequences, environmental consequences, and air pollution, water pollution. Yes. We have a potable water problem in Moldova right now, and making such drills would be like a risk for this area.
Yeah, well, from the day one, we are watching quality of water. Above surface, the below surface, we will be watching it all the time. The small changes in water quality, and we will identify what the problem is, and we are not going to let it go too far. We're going to stop operation and treat it. We have never had the problem before to have any pollution cases in operations worldwide, what we did since inception of our company. So we are very keen and very careful to monitor very carefully any signs of any kind of pollution if it ever takes place. So I can assure you that it's not a problem to, once we do it in a responsible way, no problem to handle it.
Let's talk a bit about the experience your company has. You said that you have such type of contracts in Georgia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about Georgia? Because the press has wrote a lot about your Georgian operations that were not successful, actually. What happened there?
Well, this is Georgia is great success, and Georgia is great success story, and here is why. To date, we've invested in Georgia a little over $400 million, and we've discovered the huge natural gas deposit in the country of Georgia, which is roughly 350 billion cubic meters. If you take Georgia's annual consumption, this amount of this volume of gas is enough for Georgia for about 150 years. At the same time, we found a lot of crude oil, roughly 800 million barrels of crude oil. And we are very shortly about to commence development of the field where we found this oil.
But you didn't reach the phase of extracting and selling it.
As we speak right now, we are producing oil and we are producing natural gas. And that's why this has been great success in Georgia. And with every year, we will be increasing this production.
Why the press is having such a negative attitude towards this subject?
I cannot comment on where they are finding this information, but I can assure you again that even third party, one of the largest reserve hydrocarbons reserve certification company, confirmed our discoveries.
The Moldovan press also has published information, very tricky informations, and I want you to comment on this because otherwise everybody would make different supposes. Maybe you can tell us directly. Did the Moldovan politician Vladimir Plahotniuc meet with the chief executive officer of Frontera Resources the previous year in USA?
We've been working in Moldova 5 years now, and we met with almost everyone in the country. We've started our work with Prime Minister Filat, continued with Prime Minister Leanca, Prime Minister Gabor, Prime Minister Filip. We worked with every single minister of economy since then, and every single minister of the natural resources. So, and we met almost every single politician and the public figure in the country, to understand whether or not Moldova is the place we would undertake these long-term capital-intensive investments. And so we met a lot of people. So this kind of nature of the business to meet with everyone in the
Yes,
country.
I understand. I was wondering if the previous year when Mr. Plahotniuc was in the United States, maybe that was the basis for this partnership that you found for this project.
Well, we've been advancing it since 5 years when formally Prime Minister Filat initiated this process, and then with every single government we've been making little progress, which finally ended up with winning the public tender which government announced.
I want to speak about one more press rumor, let's say. The cost of the shares of Frontera Solutions at the London Stock Exchange. You mentioned in the press conference that you have very good results, financial
Yes.
results for the first quarter of 2016. In the same time, the cost per share at the London Stock Exchange is decreasing very fast. How do you comment on that?
Well, I think what we are seeing last several months, it is increasing very nicely. But
it increases after you announce the contract with the Moldovan government.
No, well, not really. not really. But
Well,
but
the graph says so.
no. I mean, not really. But we just signed this in March 3rd. We signed this the documents with Moldovan government, and this very nice increase in share price started long before that. But let's put this on the side for the moment. Yes, we are on the London Stock Exchange. My personal opinion is that market value of the company is substantially undervalued, and I think with time the people will notice the great potential which the company's assets have, and with time it will appreciate in price, and we will create good value for shareholders, good value for country, and good value for company.
Mr. Mamulaishvili, thank you very much for coming and explaining what is the deal you have with the Moldovan government. I wish you good luck with your business, finding gas and selling it as cheap as possible for the Moldovan government. I really hope that you will have a special representative and press offices in Moldova that could be reachable and could answer any question about this issue. Why? Because it's important for the Moldovan public to know at each step what's happening, and this will increase your reputation as a company if you would have that attitude when working in Moldova.
Absolutely, we will work towards that, and thank you very much for having me here and giving this opportunity to explain more who we are, what we do, and how we're going to create value for everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you.